All right, welcome back, folks. Happy Wednesday. We're back here on hashtag AskGSM for May 10th, 2017, episode 180. Special treat for you guys here today. Every so often, we got a special guest. We've had Mr. Marceau, RJ here on the show before. We've had John. We've had Jason today. Our fourth ever guest here on hashtag AskGSM. The artist, formerly known as Tommy Sharp. Not sure what identity he's going by today. Tommy, how you doing?
Bro, it is good to be here, bro. Listen, it's me. It's DDP, bro. Listen, unbelievable week this week. I saw my main man, the big dog. I don't know why people got everything up in a bunch over this Roman Reigns guy, but, bro, he is the real deal. Let me tell you something about that. I had him down at my compound in Florida, bro, and we were doing DDP, Diamond Cutters, yoga all day long. It was just fun in the sun with the big dog all day long. He loves to lay out in the sun. He's a big fan. Eats a big meal, goes lays out in the sun. That's what I like, bro.
It's the big dog.
Big dog, Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns. Yep. No, not me. We got Hall down there. We got Jake the Snake Roberts down there, bro. Yeah, we're huge fans of the big dog, is what we are.
WWE Hall of Famers as well.
WWE Hall of Famers is what it is. And that is Roman Reigns all day long. Future Hall of Famer, bro.
Easily. Not to be mistaken with Vince Russo. We got Diamond Dallas Page here on the show today.
Oh, if you want to talk about the king of the bros, okay, I'm the king of the bros. I mean, some people say it's Hogan. Some people say it's Nash. Some people say it's Russo. Russo's a punk. Come on. You got to be kidding me with this Vince Russo stuff, bro. If I was going to do a Vince Russo, bro, it would be high-pitched and squealing like a little rat. Let me see if I can do it. Bro. Something like that, because he sounds like a total nitwit. That's what he is, bro.
That's Diamond Dallas Page. That's Vince Russo. That's the future WrestleMania 34 main event right there. So we're answering questions here today. Before we get started, if you guys want to send in a question, you can do so. Tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/graham.jason.matthews. Leave a comment on the post that usually goes up on Tuesday nights, if not the wall itself. And last but not least, on this very video on YouTube, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Your question will be included in next week's edition. So we'll get started here with the YouTube questions. First one being coming from Prince5835. His question was, am I the only one who has a huge problem with the wrestlers' actions not backing up what they say in the promos? They say a lot of tough talk, but never really do anything to back it up. For example, Mickie James a couple of weeks ago told Alexa Bliss that she would make her life a living nightmare, but has yet to do remotely anything to her to do anything about it. So, Mr. DDP/Tommy Sharp, your thoughts on the situation here. Do you feel like that's the case in today's WWE?
Bro, I see a lot of up-and-coming talent returning talent, bro, trying to take the spotlight away from major stars by saying little snippy comments like, I'm gonna make your life a nightmare and things like that, bro. I don't buy into it for a minute, bro. No, what this is small talk from people that are wannabe winners, bro. That's what that is. That is all that is. It's just talk, no walk. You know what I say? Mickie James, you get moved down on the list.
Back down, not even on the list.
No, not even on the list. You get taken off whatever list you're on, bro.
Not even on the list at this point.
Feel the bank.
I think you kind of summed it up pretty well yourself. I got to agree. I mean, that's just kind of the way it works nowadays. I mean, that's been the case for quite some time. It's no new revelation or anything.
You know, it's one thing to put yourself in the middle of a feud, bro. You know, you have this opportunity to maybe create a little bit of that media buzz and things like that, bro. But that's all that is. It's just a chance. It's you know, when you're the champion, you're going after a champion. Why should the champion have to pay attention to a smaller fish, bro? I don't know. It's not.
It's the case. I would agree. I could not agree more. Second question from Prince as well. Not the Prince, but Prince5835. Their question was, besides the USA Network, how come we barely see the superstars appear in other TV shows and commercials nowadays? I remember the days where the Divas would appear on Project One, Runaway, WWE Superstars on Family Feud, Rick the Sign Guy on Deal or No Deal, and Bret Hart and John Cena, The Rock, and Triple H on Mad TV. I'm pretty sure they still do that kind of stuff, though, nowadays. Not quite maybe to the extent that it used to be. I'm not exactly sure. But I do know we see superstars maybe on, like, I don't know, I don't watch too much TV, so I can't exactly say, but I do know they promote, like, you know, these superstars appearances for other TV shows on, like, Nickelodeon and stuff like that. So I can't say that's not completely the case. But I do remember the days that we would see like Rick the Sign Guy and Bobby Lashley and John Cena on like Deal or No Deal, and that we don't really get that quite as much nowadays.
Nah, it's so true, bro. No, I know a perfect guy. I'm gonna kick it over to him for just a few. A good friend of mine, Hall of Famer, just all around great guy. But he was on Nash Bridges once, so he's got the in on this one.
That was a good show.
Hey, well, I'll say what you will. I thought Miami Vice was better, bro. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Hold on, I gotta get settled here. Hold on, let me get the headphones on. Hey, how's everyone doing? Swig a beer for the working man. Listen, Stone Cold Steve Austin here. See, the thing is about this. You want to talk about product placement. You want to talk about your Nash Bridges. You want to talk about your movie spots. Well, old Stone Cold's been down that road, stomped a mud hole in that road all day long, and that's the bottom line. The thing about it is, Jack, the WWE universe is where it's at now. Okay? You're not going to get all of these product placements across the board anymore because nobody needs that. We have the WWE network. And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
Thank you, Stone Cold, for your 2 cents. I very much agree with that sentiment.
You can't
as
see it, pal, but I'm giving you 2 number ones.
Flipping the bird in the radio room. On that same note, different question, same user. Do you think Jim Johnson and Lillian Garcia should make the WWE Hall of Fame in the near future?
Hold on, here we go. Tommy Sharp here, just back for a second here. Jim Johnson and Lillian Garcia. Well, I guess those are 2 entirely different, focal points, right?
Yeah.
Lillian, I think if she had stayed and retired with the WWE, that would have gotten her to a point of potential like Michael Buffer status within the world of sports announcing, right? Howard Finkel, something like that. Mm-hmm. Not that she doesn't deserve to be recognized. I think that she may have condensed her chance of getting into a Hall of Fame position by not continuing forward and making like the WWE her like basically life's work.
Yeah.
Much like Jim Johnson has. I mean, he not only has Jim Johnson ridden that line of creating music, not only with Jimmy Hart, but creating some of the most important music to the WWE characters today. But Jim Johnson outlasted all of that and was basically replaced by the CFOs.
Yeah, essentially.
So the fact that he was replaced by the CFOs says a lot about like, hey, Jim, like, every single contribution you've made has mattered. Mm-hmm. And we have to take stylistically, these things in consideration, go in a new direction with it. I think Jim Johnson gets at least nominated.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly not a ginormous fan of his body of work.
Jim Johnson?
I mean, I got to go with Jimmy Hart all day long on creating iconic wrestling theme songs. I mean, there was no one like, and being in the show, part of the show, a manager behind the scenes, producer. Yeah. I mean, that's a Hall of Fame. I mean, Hart's in the Hall of Fame, is he?
Jimmy Hart's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So I mean, like, he's already there. Does Johnson deserve to be there? I could see it. Absolutely. Lillian Garcia, she's made incredible contributions, but I would like to know if you can name 1 or 2 that would stand out in like a highlight reel of what Lillian Garcia contributed, what would it be?
Her botches in the last 5 years? I mean, well, that's the only thing they really highlight. I hate to say
that's a red hot right there. That's red hot.
This is the Don't Get Hot segment of the show.
Oh, yeah.
This is bringing it to the table, so we're not getting hot here. But, no, I would agree. I think Jim Johnson should have been in the Hall of Fame yesterday. Like, this guy should have been in there a long time ago, I think, for as much as
I'm not going to argue that.
I think Lillian Garcia, maybe, like, later down the line, everyone's going to be in the Hall of Fame eventually. Friggin' Heath Slater is going to be in there one day. But, I mean, I think Lillian Garcia, I think the key word there is near future. I don't think she's going to be in there tomorrow.
No.
Maybe down the line.
Looking back on the history of announcers, her name stands out as much as anybody's name should. And, she carried such a long, crossed eras of the WWE, which is always impressive to me. So Certainly deserving, both of them. But if one's getting in, it's probably going to be Jim Johnson.
I agree. Definitely, if you had to pick between the two,
In the
Johnson.
in the near future, definitely Johnson. Before he totally moves on. I think he's pretty well removed from the company at this point.
He's still associated, but
until
he's not,
maybe it's getting close to the point where nobody even has a theme that he's
by Jim Johnson.
That
everyone's CFO.
by Jim Johnson.
Yeah,
the only people that do tend to be returning, like the Hardys.
Yeah,
and things like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of
which I want to see an actual credential that says Jim Johnson wrote the Hardy Boys theme song.
But he didn't, though, right? Which we were talking
according to me, and I'm a very reliable source because I'm a voice on the internet. I'm a video editor, and one task that I was charged with once upon a time was taking a audio library and digitizing it so it could not be on CD anymore.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I come across a rock and roll track, just a generic rock track that is literally the Hardys theme, note for note, unmistakably the Hardy Boys theme.
Yeah, loaded.
And I looked up and down the credentials, and it was just attributed to some just mega conglomerate company that produces this garbage. So good song, but might not be Jim Johnson's song. So.
Yeah, not their property. So we'll try not to bring it up.
Very interesting. I've looked a lot into the Jim Johnson history and own a lot of his music.
Yeah, you know probably better than anyone. Yeah,
nothing will ever creep me out as much as watching him play Randy Orton's theme song on an acoustic guitar. I've never felt more uncomfortable.
Favorite wrestling move that is not a finisher? I'm gonna lie here. I've always said one of my favorite finishers is the Sweet Chin Music, the super kick, but it has essentially become a regular move. So I'm gonna say that's my favorite wrestling move out there. Tommy Sharp, any favorite moves of yours?
Favorite
that's not a finisher.
That is not a finisher. Let's think. Potentially. Favorite move, not a finisher. That's a tough one.
Yeah, see, it takes some time to think about. Yeah, that's just a cop-out answer.
There's so many. There's so
many.
I
just go with the easiest thing.
Well, I mean, at this point, you could say a DDT, right?
Exactly.
And that was once a finisher,
but it's not nowadays.
It's not now.
What standards are we going by? Yeah.
I mean, it's not technically a finisher, knocks people down, but it's a Superman punch.
Okay. You want to go Superman punch? Wow, bold statement. Don't tune out, people.
Superman. I mean,
it's actually a great move, honestly.
We're cocked and loaded over here.
When you don't overdo it, it's actually a really good move.
No, but when you deliver it 3 times to Braun Strowman and he doesn't fall down, it's an even better move.
Yeah, that too. Or the Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Yes, true. Well, all right. So one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Lou Thez press.
Okay. Stone Cold kind of really brought that to.
Well, I mean, obviously Lou Thez.
Well, obviously, but I'm talking about like in WWE. Yeah.
You know, well, because I don't think Lou Thez called it a Lou Thez press.
He might have. Who knows?
But I always thought that the Lou Thez press was impressive because it took the idea that when you were Irish whipped into the ropes, there was a reason for you to run back and duck. It wasn't to just do a cross around the ring for show, or to pick up speed, or to position in another spot. Mm-hmm. It was literally an explosive move.
Yeah.
And it is not all too dissimilar to the move that Dean Ambrose does, where he ducks out of the ring rope.
The Nigel McGuinness move, whatever it is.
And then
wacky lariat, I think is what they call it.
Yeah, the wacky lariat where he comes back and hits you with the lariat. Dean Ambrose does it painfully slow at times, but Stone Cold, especially in like '97, thinking back against matches like Owen Hart, Bret Hart especially, that Lou Thez press hit you out of nowhere, and not only was it a tackle, like a full upper body tackle, but then it was a ground and pound on top of it, which set up so many other things. You could go like double axe handle off the top. You could hit a top rope move. You could hit a second turnbuckle move. You could do leg drops. You could gloat, whatever you wanted to do. I always dug that. And spinning heel kicks.
Ooh, okay.
Enziguris are used like cotton candy these days.
Yeah, always.
But a good like spinning heel kick off the ropes out of nowhere. Because my whole thing is like when you get thrown into the ropes, what is your motivation to not just hold on to the ropes and not bounce back?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's got to be some motivation.
So I love the moves that are reactive and give that a purpose.
Yeah, I would agree. That's definitely a good one. Definitely more underrated moves, I would say. Manuel A. from YouTube as well. This is kind of in reference to, or in response to, rather, last week I talked about House of Horrors and how I thoroughly enjoyed it. We talked about it on Wrestle Rant Radio, too. This individual is saying, I don't know, but the more I think about it, that the House of Horrors match, the more I'm tempted to agree that it was a really, really bad match. I'll spare you the full rant, but I turned my brain off for it, and even then I still knew it was stupid. Like were the red lights that were the house, what were they supposed to do? The red lights in the house, what was Bray's plan when he came back to the arena, and how did Randy Orton get there quicker than him, etc., etc. I think the real question is now, is the Orton-Wyatt feud the worst feud ever candidate? 3 big pay-per-view matches, all mediocre at best, worst match of the year contenders at worst, along with various promo segments that were more missed than hits, and Bray Wyatt once again looking like an ineffective boogeyman. So, just turn out the lights in here.
You want to call me a boogeyman? Man, that is a moniker I will accept. From your voiceless, gainless position on the internet, you have the audacity to claim that I can't control the lights outside of your house. I can control the internet coming into your house, man. And I swear I will send nothing but Roman Reigns to your WWE network feed. Believe that and run.
Whatever the...
Well, sorry about that, folks. It does happen here from time to time. Well, Graham, what are your thoughts on the question here? Is this take the whole arc into consideration, I suppose, is what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
Is this contender for the worst storyline of the year?
Yeah, for the year ever? No. I mean, I'm not going to say that. I mean, there's a lot of feuds in WWE history that were a lot worse than this. Because I'm going to say this, because there was a stretch of time from maybe, Survivor Series up until, Elimination Chamber, where the character work there with Orton aligning with them, despite the fact that we knew that he was going to turn on him at some point, was really, really good. Like, him inside the Wyatt family, I thought was an awesome little twist. They had that little run of the tag titles and all these other matches and whatnot. It was pretty great. So I'm going to say I'm not going to... Maybe for a contender of worst feud of 2016, 2017, but ever, that's kind of far-fetched.
So, well, yeah, I guess of this year.
Yeah. So what do you think?
I will say that it was the worst trio of matches on a network special or pay-per-view or whatever you want to call it. However, the work that they were doing week to week, if you're watching, which most people probably are not, if you're watching week to week, it really made the House of Horrors so damn fun. Yeah. Like, that was the payoff. This was the weird payoff to have Randy Orton, like, in this scenario where Randy Orton joins the Wyatt family for no particular reason whatsoever. I felt like they did everything right to explain this whole campy 1980s B horror kind of nonsense, right? And think about what WWE is not want to do things that aren't completely hitting in the public and social consciousness. But if you think of Stranger Things and you think of the influence of like the Final Deletion and things like that, they were really trying to do something campy. They were really pulling at that. You can't just say it's directly derivative of the Final Deletion because there were so many other just weirdo horror elements that have nothing to do with what Matt Hardy and his brand are trying to do in any way. So to add more campy horrorness, to take a look back at the compound match with the New Day and everything like that, to see the Wyatt family members turn on Bray. I mean, all of those things needed to happen in order to move Bray over to Raw, separate him from all of the things that he was doing, and then put him on a new path. His new path appears to be just messing with The Miz. We'll see where that goes. But you can't do anything with Bray Wyatt until you conclude and push out all of the weird stuff that hasn't been done with Bray Wyatt. And now that it has been done, for better or worse, Bray can move on, Randy can move on, and we all can move on, but the House of Horrors will stay with us forever. And that's right, you can be the proud owner of the House of Horrors for $36,000 on Highway 10, Missouri, Kansas City. Check it out online at Zillow.
I love the what we talked about it last week, the surplus of dirty dishes in the sink in the House of Horrors. That was pretty great. I mean, might be a place I'd check out.
It comes completely furnished. You're gonna need a new fridge, but
thanks, Randy.
But who knows? Randy may have done some redecorating before he left. He certainly had enough time. Bray took an unreasonable car ride from the dark, some place at midnight and ended up somewhere at 6 in the afternoon. So time displacement all over the place. I believe Randy Orton has what it takes to pull it off.
Captain Sunshine from YouTube as well. Is Jinder Mahal's push a one-off, or is SmackDown somehow going to commit to making Jinder Mahal a main eventer? This can go one of two ways. He gets the JBL treatment and becomes an upper mid-carder for the rest of his career and eventually a drunk announcer who may or may not have bullied a bipolar coworker. Or he goes the Hardcore Holly route and, I don't know, just remains Hardcore Holly, but with true cruiserweights that weren't good enough for the Cruiserweight show.
Those are some references. Jesus. What analogies.
Yeah, quite a bit. I think with Jinder, honestly, we've talked about him before. I'm not the biggest Jinder fan. JBL, he was never like an amazing wrestler, but he had that character that just made it work. I don't want to judge the Jinder character too early. It's only been a month, but I think what they've done so far, I talked about it last week, has been really well done. I mean, he pinned the champion last night, clean in the middle of the ring. So, I mean, the fact, all the things they've been doing with Jinder up to this point, I think has been, the effort has been there. It's been a solid effort into making him a threat to the championship. I don't know if that'll stick beyond Backlash, but for their sake, I'm not saying he's going to become the next WWE. I mean, he could very well win the title. We've talked about that before. But beyond that, I don't think he's going to have that. He's going to stand the test of time that JBL did. But at least if he's an upper mid-carder, then at least all of this effort they put into making him a main eventer will have been worth it. So what are your thoughts, Tommy?
I absolutely agree with everything you're saying. My take on it is that Jinder A is going to be your next WWE World Champion. Deal with that. And
believe that.
And B, I think that Jinder is becoming the kind of athletic heel that Roman Reigns fans wish, or non-fans wish Roman could pull off. You know, Roman's version of being a heel is kind of like being a babyface that's really obnoxious. Jinder Mahal is just straight up obnoxious, and you don't like him. And honestly, for me, it started off with just not liking the way that he wrestled because he was, injuring people.
Dangerous
To be around, and just way too amped up and taking it way too seriously for what he needs to do, considering he's just this bursting, muscle-bound, crazy thing exploding. All of that. But as far as being like an athletic heel, like he's obviously touting around a lot of this money that he's apparently has, and I think that it's really getting under a lot of people's skin for non-racist reasons. I think they just don't like Jinder Mahal. He's been with the company long enough and never stood out in this way that I think if you put the belt on him, I think it's going to continue. I think his small little faction that popped up overnight with the Singh brothers, with all this stuff, it very much says to me that the WWE is interested in seeing what Jinder can do.
Yeah.
You put the belt on him, I don't think it comes off him very easily.
No.
I think he's not just going to be some place card holder if he gets his hand on that title. And now that he's the number one contender and they didn't immediately squash him out of that position in the following week, be prepared, ladies and gentlemen. Jinder Mahal is going to be your future champion this summer, coming soon.
I'd rather see that, honestly. We've talked about it before. Just Orton as a champion and this current character that he has right now just does nothing for me. It's just not compelling at all.
And who better? So AJ Styles is going after the U.S. title right now. Kevin Owens has done very well and beaten the likes of Chris Jericho and nearly anybody else. He's been the Universal Champion. Now he's U.S. Champion. AJ Styles is hot after that. Shinsuke Nakamura is in the mix and currently getting up to speed against Dolph Ziggler and things like that. If Jinder Mahal becomes a champion, all of a sudden the landscape of babyfaces on SmackDown Live just becomes like huge.
Yeah.
And now it's very much about the competition for that number one contender spot. And Jinder Mahal is already using so many underhanded tactics to keep a belt that's not even his, or just hurt people for no reason. I think this is going to be a while.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see come Backlash
but
next Sunday.
I would pay good money to see AJ Styles beat the tar out of Jinder Mahal. You better believe that.
Hashtag book it.
Yeah.
Elena the Y. Did Raw feel like Vince or someone from creative just wrote a first draft and no one had the energy or motivation to rewrite it? So basically, overall thoughts on Raw. To sum it up in so many words, it wasn't a bad show. There was quite a bit of wrestling actually on Monday. But it just kind of lacked that energy. And it wasn't the pre-taped nature of it either, because SmackDown was pre-taped too, and I thought SmackDown last night was actually really good. So I'm not exactly... I don't know.
My take on this is that anytime you have to take you're a circus traveling sideshow of a company, and then you have to fly that whole company overseas, and the rigs and all of your personnel overseas, get everybody where they need to be, deal with the jet lag, and then get
and all the
to
other
a show.
shows are doing too. Yeah.
I think that's why we saw no talking or less talking.
Yes.
I think that's why we saw less of the management involved. I think that's why we saw less microphones involved in general. I think they brought less gear. I think they brought less staff. I think they said go out there and just have a match and enjoy yourselves. We'll move, the whole show forward just by a half step and not a full step this week.
Yeah.
And I have to say I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was watching a wrestling show instead of a show about a company that puts on wrestling shows.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. I wouldn't want that every week though, but it was nice to pepper those things in. And to this question's point, it does stick out like bad writing because they don't have a thought to do something like this more regularly. Mm-hmm. If they built it into the audience expectation that, hey, sometimes, like especially if we're traveling or it's tight or, we got a lot of shows like back to back to back, like we're going to do a straight up wrestling show like once a month.
Yeah.
And you're not going to know when that show is going to fall, and that's up to them to write. But how cool would it be if once a month you knew, hey, I got to watch this week because this could be the week where it's just nonstop 3 hours of wrestling matches. I mean, that's like getting another pay-per-view level a quality show with some story built in. I would love stuff like that.
Yeah, if they kind of did it more often than they do, which is very rarely. Next question, are we already setting up another Stephanie McMahon versus babyface authority figure feud? The whole co-GM setup on Raw has me worried that because I'll say it right now, I do not want, nor do I need, precious win-loss record-savvy GM Kurt Angle to devolve into an emasculated, embarrassing Mick Foley type. I think it's only inevitable, really. We're only getting to that point where it's going to be Kurt Angle versus Stephanie / Triple H. But the end game, we talked about it a while ago. Angle and Triple H as a match in the end is not a bad idea. Like, they have a lot of history. They work well together as opponents. We saw that years ago in, like, the early Attitude Era stages. I'm not pooping on that as a feud, but just the whole Stephanie versus Kurt Angle, just the idea of a babyface and heel authority figure feud and the battle for power on Raw. We've seen it so many times. It's the same tired trope they've been shoving down our throats for 15 years since the heel Vince McMahon days. So I hope that's not where we're going with this. I know they're definitely planting the seeds. They kind of did it on Monday. I'm sure we will see Stephanie again at some point in the near future. I'm not even sure why she's officially off TV. She got pushed through a table at WrestleMania. We have no update on her since then. But I'm really hoping that's not where this is going, but I'm sure it's going to end up there in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, this is reminiscent of what happens every single year. Last year, it was Triple H's turn to be off television. And this year, Stephanie's fully off television. The reality is that they have a family, and this lifestyle is super important to them, and it's their life's work. But, they have a family and, like, kids and, like, a whole life to maintain and manage. So it's not surprising to me that Stephanie would take a bump like that and use it as a total crutch to be able to be off television as long as she wants. But we all know that Stephanie can't stay away forever. She has to be unfortunately involved in everything, and that usually means, just like the horrible boss that she is, that she walks in and just trashes on literally anything that went even remotely poorly or slightly poorly, and she will blame that on Kurt Angle because she only has one default mode, which is total emasculation mode.
Yep.
And then Kurt Angle and Triple H will come face to face, and Triple H will call him a has-been, and then he'll get Angle slammed, and then there'll be a bunch of chest puffing, and then we'll see this match next year at WrestleMania, a guaranteed 100%.
You just booked the feud right there. Next question, interesting one here. Have you ever read or even heard of the Playboy interview that Vince McMahon did years ago? I think it was in promotion for the XFL, and Vince actually revealed some of his childhood backstory, notable stuff being his abusive stepfather marrying his cousin, getting naked in the woods and wanting to put crushed leaves inside said cousin, okay, and a sexually abusive mother being safe to assume. I guess by the last sentence they're talking about, I think Vince was asked whether his mother or stepmother, I think his actual mother was abusive, and he said in so many words yes, but he didn't outright come out and say it. So I have heard of the interview. I've heard about it a number of times. I know Salamonster on his podcast was talking about it months ago. And almost as recently as I know the whole news on the Vince biopic leaked just recently, and they were talking about it then. But I have heard of that. Really weird stuff. I guess it would explain why Vince is sometimes into as weird stuff as he is on WWE TV. But yeah, very odd interview. If you haven't heard about it or even read it, I would definitely suggest that checking it out. Tommy, have you heard about that at all?
Yeah, I've read a lot of interviews from Vince McMahon. I've read this one in particular.
Yep.
I've seen all of the television interviews he did, especially surrounding the steroid scandal in the early 90s.
Stuff, yeah.
I watched everything he's done on Howard Stern. The thing that we know about Vince McMahon for certain is that all of this should be taken with a grain of entertainment consideration. Vince is a storyteller. He's not one to exaggerate. He'll tell you the truth. He's a very simple person when it comes down to it at the end of the day. He's a very respectful person, or, you can take that however you want, to whom he's being respectful towards, I'm not sure. But I know for certain that when he tells a story, it's not necessarily embellished, but he's definitely highlighting some of the harder things that he's been through in life. Do those things like totally matter and make up who he is? Probably not entirely at all, but for the sake of doing an interview, why would you want to read an interview with Vince McMahon that says everything was great, and all throughout every part of life?
Exactly.
And it just wasn't. It was tough for him. He came from a trailer park. He came from he's a true American dream type rags to riches story, but that's off the back. A lot of that is off the back of his father working really hard. And now you can read all the stories about how Vince's father, made Vince start at the very bottom and discredited him at pretty much every turn, according to Vince, and things like that. And it was such a hard road for him. And I'm certain that being left with his mother most of the time, however that worked out, while his father did all of this work, which was not all uncommon of people in his generation.
Yeah.
You have this crazy, hormone nut job of a kid, Vince McMahon, young Vince McMahon, and is his mother going to have to rein that in somehow? Of course. And I'm sure nobody's home life is pretty in that era. Of understanding a child's needs and how to be nurturing and things like that. And Vince doesn't. He's kind of a warm and accepting person. And then we've heard all of the times where people have been on the not so nice side of Vince
horror
McMahon.
Stories, yeah,
and the horror stories that come out of it. So I don't think you can judge anything that he says as being incorrect, but I think you should take it all with a little bit of that entertainment that he's definitely trying to give a good interview and make what he does outside of that interview shine based on the experiences that he's gone through in life. And I would say that shows like the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast on the WWE Network and his time with Stone Cold on that podcast is a reflection of how he gets telling personal stories in an entertaining way.
That's a good point. I've never really thought about it like that. Hopefully we get more insight on the Vince McMahon life beyond WWE when that biopic eventually comes out. I think it is coming out. I know Linda said she was doubtful, but I guess we'll see, because I know it's in association with WWE Studios. Brandon A. also from YouTube, their question was, and he's got a couple questions from before about wrestlers from other promotions that he wanted to know more about. This question was in reference to what's the rundown with the Bennetts, Mike Bennett and Maria Bennett. So you're quite familiar with the Bennett's work with Matt Taven and Ring of Honor. I know I was watching at that point right before he left Ring of Honor. Then they went to TNA as a couple, and they really shined over there, especially Maria. She is just a phenomenal talent. Mike Bennett is also really, really good. Quite honestly, beyond the tag team with Matt Taven, I honestly did not think Mike Bennett had it in him to be a star on his own. But he has really done well for himself, or at least before he left TNA. He did some great work over there. In terms of his character background, which is what I think you're looking for here, Mike Bennett is basically what Jinder Mahal is right now, very privileged. He's all about the money. Maria was the head of the Knockouts division for quite some time. They didn't go too much into their backstory. I know Mike Bennett's gimmick in TNA was that he was the Miracle and that he was coming to save TNA from chaos or whatever, and they didn't really do that. They ended up leaving within a year in storyline and also legitimately. And now apparently they're SmackDown bound. So hopefully we see some of those similar characters in WWE on SmackDown at some point. So any insight you could share on the Bennetts?
I just hope that he has a vein that is very dissimilar to how Kurt Hawkins has been treated in this whole process. I look at Chris Hero, Cassius Ohno down in NXT right now, and it's just what unfortunately, I kind of just slipped it right there. Down in NXT. It's not the major leagues of professional wrestling for and it is, but it's not. And so if Bennett is not going to NXT and he's going right to SmackDown, it reeks to me of the same type of treatment that Aiden English is getting right now, that Kurt Hawkins is getting right now, that singles competitor Heath Slater is getting right now. When he's tagging with Rhino, it's a little bit different. But is this the new mid card? Is he the new Draws? Is he the new kind of like Val Venus? Like, no, I'm not talking about character. I'm just saying, like, what's your role? Your role isn't necessarily championship bound, even though they say that if you're not here for the championship, like you're all on television. Not everybody gets to play the lead, folks.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
everyone's getting a title shot,
I think he would be a great rabble rouser, a great person to just stir the pot and take the fall, and put other people over at any point. I love Bennett and I love the work that he's done, but I think if he wanted to prove that he's something other than that, then why not be valuable on your first day in the door? Come in, make a big splash, pretend you're on top of the world and you're the best thing that's there, and then get the rug pulled out under your feet every time and see where it goes. Because as long as you're going out there and you have that, you have firmly down who you are in that ring, then I don't care about whether you win or lose in 10 seconds or whatever happens to you. Just, as long as they find that vein that makes Bennett shine and the writers can actually put him over, then I think he'll do great. I don't think he's going to be a future champion or has that kind of like reputation of being like one of the most dangerous competitors to come out of Ring of Honor and make it to TNA. The guy who hasn't made it to WWE. In my opinion, that's Matt Taven. Matt Taven has like all that early HBK style charisma, and it's now just so much more in your face about it right now that I think seeing Taven at some point, get back together with Bennett and maybe do a run at the Kingdom in the WWE style would be really cool to see. They were an incredible tag team together, but as singles competitors, if I had to pick Taven over Bennett, it would be Taven.
I agree. And he's getting his title shot tonight, by the way, I think, too.
That's right. Christopher Daniels, Matt Taven. Matt Taven just defeated Adam Cole.
He did. I was shocked. I did not see that coming, honestly.
Totally shocked. But I saw it coming.
You did say it. You did call
it. When Taven says he's going to do something, Matt Taven does exactly that.
I agree. Next question. What should Roman Reigns do at Extreme Rules if it turns out that Braun Strowman is actually injured for 6 weeks? So what do you see him doing, Tommy? If he's not facing Braun in Extreme Rules, what does Roman do?
I think Roman comes down to the ring and just announces a Superman Punch open challenge. Just open challenge. And it's just every single person in the locker room. Then they can't get in there fast enough before he can cock another Superman punch. And then, bam, right to the face, down one by one. He's going to be the all-time reigning Superman Punch champion. No. What happens if Braun Strowman... I guarantee you if Braun is truly out, that Roman Reigns will get involved in some kind of number one contenders three-way dance, something like, because honestly, it's got to be Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins.
Okay.
And maybe it's a four-way dance and Samoa Joe's involved because they have to figure out who a number one contender is.
Yeah, they do.
And all four of those names plus Braun Strowman would have been included in that. If they wanted to keep Strowman away from this whole, Universal title area and just keep him a loser, which is kind of what they do with him. Yeah. But Braun Strowman's thing is he wants to be the most destructive monster the WWE's ever seen, blah, 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 and he's on his way by, getting injured. So that he's off to a good start on that. See, he's even a loser at being a monster. Since Roman Reigns has been involved so heavily in that, I can only imagine they will stick him directly back in the chase for the WWE Universal title.
They probably will. I mean, I assume that's where they were heading anyway, probably just ahead of schedule now with Braun out. So.
I don't see why they would make him an Intercontinental Champion.
I don't think they would, no.
I don't see why.
I think Ambrose and Miz have that locked up.
They don't have... He can't be a Cruiserweight Champion. He's not going to be a tag team champion.
They can put the belt on him. Yeah. Put all the belts on Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
So, I think 3 or 4 way dance is coming up.
Yeah, it is weird to me. They are doing Ambrose and Miz on Monday, so I don't know. But then again, that's the IC title level, so I'm not sure.
Quick aside. How weird, and we'll probably get into this later this week, but how weird is it that, like, all of the SmackDown transplants to Raw are fighting each other?
Yeah,
and
Alexa
it's
and
so
Nikki.
confusing to talk about because
Yeah.
I can't, even when I'm watching it, I'm forgetting what show I'm watching because they're not fighting people who were on Raw to begin with.
Yeah. It's silly.
Anyway.
Ambrose, Miz, Alexa, Mickey, it's just... They don't even... We talked about it before. They think that we do not watch SmackDown. We only watch one show or the other. We
Well,
don't watch
most people aren't watching any of this stuff. It's just us, Graham.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That is very true. Speaking of which, next question. I'm a big fan of The Miz and Bray Wyatt, and I haven't liked the way they've been booked lately, like most people. But say WWE had kept them strong through WrestleMania, and they still had the Intercontinental and WWE titles respectively. How many good pay-per-view matches are you going to get out of them if you give them a long run? As much as I like the characters when they are booked correctly, I'm still not impressed with them in the ring, that being The Miz and Bray Wyatt. I'm going to have to agree and disagree. I don't think Bray Wyatt as a long-reigning WWE champion would have worked. I'm okay with them doing the transitional run with Randy Orton. That was bound to happen at some point. The Miz, however, had a very long run as Intercontinental Champion, and it was friggin' amazing because even the matches he was having with Dolph Ziggler, but it was the character work. Because you talk about Bobby Roode, you talk about The Miz, they look like guys who would be champions. It's like, I want that guy to get his ass kicked tonight. I want that guy to get his butt kicked by Dolph Ziggler, by Shinsuke Nakamura, whatever, because they look like champions. I associate that white Intercontinental Championship belt of the modern era with The Miz. He's held that thing 5 or 6 times, and it's not because of the in-ring mat classics that he's been having. It's not the matches that he's been having, although some of the matches he had with Ziggler and Ambrose were really good. It's the character work that he's been doing. Bray Wyatt's a different story. The Miz evolved. Bray Wyatt really hasn't. He's been the same character for like 3 or 4 years now. We don't know anything more about Bray Wyatt than we did 4 years ago. But yeah, what's your analysis, Tommy Sharp?
Well, I think that Bray Wyatt as a long-standing champion would work in one way, and it has to be in that very it's a very daring story kind of way, right? Like if Bray won a championship, or say someone from his family won that championship, and they literally handed it over to him in some sort of sacrificial ceremony, right? And now he's, the WWE runs with it as like that was an official exchange of power. He gave up the title and handed it to, and then WWE says, oh, we can't do that, whatever. And Bray Wyatt eventually wins that match and becomes the actual champion. And it was like, like a fatal 5-way. And like he won through nefarious means or just by circumstance, but not by direct pinfall, right? Something like that, right? And now he has this title. It would be great if he still had a family and still had like Braun Strowman on his side, because it would be like Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster. You could literally give, like, Bray can have the belt, but it's actually in Braun Strowman's name. Braun Strowman actually is still the named guy, but Bray's the guy that holds the belt, and he's just controlled, and then eventually the monster turns on the manipulator, and then you have that in kind of fighting thing, and then Bray needs to have some sort of like pre-programmed hypnosis mind control over Braun Strowman, and Braun would have to fight through it in order to actually be the real champion and not just the paper champion with Bray Wyatt holding onto the belt. And then that's how you put Braun Strowman over and make him a babyface if you want, or you have Braun Strowman lose because he's very good at doing that. And you continue the idea that Bray Wyatt can hold on to this title as long as he wants because he can manipulate someone's mind into giving it to them. So the next time someone beats him, you do it again. Like The Miz beats him for the world title, and it's amazing, and The Miz is on cloud 9, and then the lights go out in his locker room, and then all of a sudden The Miz is just this kind of like pod person, and he's like, no, Bray Wyatt is one of the greatest champions. I realize this now, and I'm abdicating this title, and I'm vacating it in order to hand it specifically over to Bray Wyatt. And he lays down in the ring 1, 2, 3, and Bray Wyatt is this all purposeful champion, this glorious god of a champion. That is how you put Bray Wyatt, the title on Bray Wyatt for as long as you want.
How have they not figured that out yet, though? I've been thinking...
I think it's a story too daring for what they can think their audience is prepared for. And they thought that we were prepared for the House of Horrors.
Yeah, exactly. That is very true, yeah. And I think if anything, that would work with... I don't know if you would agree. With the Wyatt, now that Luke and Eric are on SmackDown and Braun's doing his own thing, and this is not my idea, I've heard other people say this, what about Bo Dallas, considering their history as brothers? And Bo Dallas ain't doing anything.
I've always wanted to see, Bray corrupt Bo.
Yeah.
I don't know if Bo wants that at all. I'm sure he wants to just stand on his own 2 feet.
But he's not doing anything. That's the thing. Maybe
doing anything. It just seems natural to me. It's the same thing of like Cody and Goldust getting together and painting up together and running around and doing that. It's just like, always wanted to see it. Would be nice. Would be amazing to see Bo. I've always felt like that would be such a great pair that's got tag team championship written all over it. But I think that they're still very much thinking that Bray is like somehow a world champion.
Yeah.
And he is, on paper. But if you really wanted to make an impression, if you really wanted to get viewers' interest back in Bray Wyatt, you have to make him weirder than anything the Undertaker of Kane have ever done.
Yeah.
It can't just be messing with the lights.
No, exactly.
Or
We've seen
projecting bugs into the ring.
Yeah, you got to go a bit few steps further.
He's like literally the Beetlejuice of WWE.
Pretty much. Next question. How can challengers and champions look good going into pay-per-views without 50-50 booking, schmaz finishes, challengers pinning champions, or wrestling other talent leading up to pay-per-views that have absolutely nothing to do with that particular feud? I ask this because I, along with many other fans, do not like the way they book championship feuds leading up to pay-per-views, but at the same time, I recognize that WWE bookers, writers, whatever, their hands are tied to some degree, especially in this era of smart fans. So basically what he's asking is, do you like the way that they book these feuds? Like, so to speak, I think this is kind of coming off the fact that Bray Wyatt pinned the champion on Monday's Raw, Dean Ambrose, but he's probably not going to get a title shot because that title shot's going to The Miz. Do you agree with that?
Well, I'm going to turn it over to someone in the room right now. He is literally standing behind Graham almost every single time we do this, totally silent. He's always around us. He's always with us, ladies and gentlemen. The ghost of Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh, yeah, dig it. All right, brother. You want to talk about champions? Yeah, you want to talk about where these ideas come from. You want to get in my head is what you want to do when it comes down to it. The Macho Man. Next question. I'm going left. I'm going right. Listen, the madness seeps in. Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, you get something in your head. Yeah, you start kicking it around up there, and then it comes out your mouth. And the thing is, man, when you have these rules that you want to play by, yeah, you like to play by your rules, don't you? You like all your wrestling rules. Well, there ain't no rules, man, when it comes down to being the champion. Yeah, you want to be a champion? You want to have the champion's prerogative. You got to earn it, and you got to stay on top. Doesn't matter who you pin. Doesn't matter when you pin them. It matters when it matters, and that's the deal. Dig it!
Thank you, Macho Man Randy Savage, for your time. That was great. I would say I would approve of that analysis, so to speak, whatever that analysis was supposed to be. But it was quite incredible, though, to have Macho Man Randy Savage on the show. He's a ghost.
It was very macho of him to kind of meander around the question, answer it in a very non-direct way. And
that's Randy.
Yeah, but to Randy's point there, I think it is about whether or not that opportunity should line up for that superstar, because if you're going strictly by rules, then there's too many gray areas in the WWE rulebook.
Way too many
gray areas. So if you're going to start making claims like that, what does that usually land management's decision on? All right, well, now you're involved and it's a three-way.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden a match that could have been very interesting and have normal stipulations, and you see one-on-one competitors, now all of a sudden we're adding bells and whistles, and now there's tables involved or some nonsense, and it just becomes, your standard monster truck rally kind of mashup, match. And all of those matches kind of devolve into that. So if you're going to start awarding this checklist of things that the viewer has to remember of, well, last week The Miz pinned Dean Ambrose, but, this week The Miz has this opportunity that he was guaranteed because of this contract that was signed way back last year at SummerSlam. And who's expected to maintain this like cacophony of like details and like random history like notes of like, oh, Dean Ambrose did land that pinfall, which makes him neck and neck. It's like, this is not World Cup soccer here, folks.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about a creative team backstage making decisions right then and there of who's going forward. Kurt Angle, who's going forward, who's in this match? Just you two. Oh, why? That doesn't make sense. Fine, the three of you. Oh, it should have been just us. It was two of us.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess just two of you then. Like, it's literally a business decision at the end of the day, and management is the thing that we focus on the most on Wrestle Rant Radio. And I have to say that all of that blame, if you want to blame anybody, blame management, because they're the decision makers in this seat.
I would agree. It's definitely who the blame falls on here. As we go through the rest of the questions, we'll just do quick hits and stuff. All the rest of them are pretty simple. Those are a lot of the in-depth questions, but we'll go forward here. Mark S. from Facebook, could Dolph Ziggler get the upset win at Backlash against Shinsuke Nakamura like he did against Baron Corbin when he made his debut on the main roster? Shinsuke Nakamura, 95% winning that match, but then again, this company never ceases to surprise me, so if Ziggler won, it just wouldn't surprise me all that much. So I'm going to say Shinsuke Nakamura wins, but Ziggler winning is a very decent possibility.
I'm going to say Shinsuke wins 100%.
Yeah.
Dolph is going to keep humiliating him up till that point, and then Dolph is going to attack him further, and this is going to be the first of three for them.
I agree. Yeah, leading into
SummerSlam potentially.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they got a couple more pay-per-views left.
No, but I'm interested to see where it goes. If this is just the first chapter, it's been.
Did you watch the show last night?
I won't comment on it. We'll save that for
tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll
gotta save the good stuff for tomorrow.
Save the good stuff for tomorrow.
I'll save that for Thursday. If someone from the faction of Carmella, Tamina, and Natalya, the welcoming committee, as their WWE is calling them, were to win the Women's SmackDown title, who would you like to see win it, Tommy? Of those three women, it's hard to say. I mean, I personally, I would just go with. I mean, Natalya's the better wrestler of the three. I would go with Carmella. I'm not a big Tamina fan at all. Natalya, been there, done that. Carmella, I think, is a fresher face.
I think that Carmella brings not only that fresh face to it, but that kind of in-your-face element. Much like Alexa Bliss, but kind of in a more less guarded way. She's very outspoken.
Yes.
However, if you were going to retain this little group, the welcoming committee, putting the belt on Natalya is the smartest thing that could happen, because she is such a guarded person when it comes down to being like this bad person, She keeps her enemies as close as possible, and that's why she's surrounded by Carmella and Tamina.
Exactly. And James Ellsworth, 27.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, him. Him too.
So for me, it would be Natalya would be the most interesting person of that, because she's the least interesting of the people up there. She's a better wrestler. All of her little cat insults and stuff like that are just so annoying.
Two paws.
But that's the kind of thing that, as a champion, if she was truly just annoying and surrounded by two other annoying people, like, who wouldn't want to see Natalya completely like humiliated out of that belt? Mm-hmm. And who's to say it wouldn't be Tamina or Carmella doing it?
Yeah.
And I think the infighting possibilities are there, but if you put it on Carmella, she just skips town and, just does her own thing. And, and then the hog, James Ellsworth, has to protect her.
Yeah. Then he's champion by default, too, and no one wants to see that. No. Do you think Dylan Miley might face Bobby Roode in a match for the NXT Championship at some point down the line? Is it a possibility? Now, Dylan Miley, we saw very, very little of, brief match from a couple of months ago with DIY. I forgot who his tag team partner's name was. But he impressed me. Dylan Miley's been there for quite some time. Just a monstrous dude. The guy looks like a complete freak of nature. But I'm not sure how good he is in the ring, but so far he's been making progress. Again, solely basing this off of one appearance. But from what I've seen so far, he's a work in progress. He can be a great monster heel if they go that route. Facing Bobby Roode for the championship, I don't see it anytime soon, just because Bobby Roode's got potential challengers in Hideo Itami, Roderick Strong, Drew McIntyre, Aleister Black, people that are way higher on the totem pole than Dylan Miley. So do you see that happening at some point?
What Graham said.
With Dylan Miley. Next question. What would be your thoughts about Sami Zayn being a possible winner of the Money in the Bank contract?
I feel like he's been this close to so many opportunities of that caliber that Money in the Bank would suit him very well as a come from behind underdog win. I mean, winning the Money in the Bank does not guarantee you anything. Just look at Damian Sandow.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
gone from the company a year later.
It doesn't guarantee you anything but more opportunity, and that's literally what Sami Zayn is all about.
Yeah.
Nail on the head on that question. I mean, it would be phenomenal to see Sami Zayn, climb the ladder, take that briefcase, and take that opportunity for himself. He's deserved an opportunity in the WWE that is within his control and not management's control. And this is maybe one of the only matches that puts you in that control, because you have to know that, like, the only other match the WWE does that gives you an opportunity like that is the Royal Rumble. Yeah. And when it comes to weight class and it comes to the amount of people and variables, there's Sami Zayn that's not his match.
Yeah.
The Money in the Bank match, very much in Sami Zayn's wheelhouse to do some real damage and get up there and take that briefcase. So that I would definitely say that would be my number one pick for who walks away with that.
Yeah, he's a strong candidate. If it's not him, in my opinion, either him or Baron Corbin, who he's currently feuding with. So I guess we'll see. I think Money in the Bank is next.
You think there's going to be two Money? Like,
no, I think it's just one. You mean for both brands?
Yeah.
No, just one. It's just a SmackDown show.
It's just a SmackDown show.
That's what I've heard, but they've made no mention of it. It's like in a month, so they should probably clarify. But I think it's only a SmackDown.
Again,
briefcase.
ladies and gentlemen, the points don't count and the rules don't matter.
Yeah, nothing matters in WWE apparently. Quick question here. I'll just answer this one quickly. Have you ever seen Chelsea Green in wrestling action from Tough Enough? And if yes, how would you rate her? She's now in TNA as Laurel Van Ness. She's actually all right. She's not amazing. I think she's a student of Lance Storm, who can always be counted on as a great trainer. She's not amazing, but she does have a great character, so check her out in TNA. She's one of the better parts of Impact Wrestling right now. At Mr. Singleton16 from Twitter, are fans really into Braun Strowman, or are they just anti-Roman Reigns? That's a good question. What do you think, Tommy?
I don't know how fans can be into Braun Strowman at all, considering he's a loser. He loses almost every match. He lost a dumpster match to Kalisto. He's a dumpster diving loser.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns, he's a winner. He's a huge winner. How many championships does Roman Reigns have to his name, Graham?
Quite a few.
Three
WWE titles.
3 WWE titles. I should have clarified. I wasn't questioning you. You know more about anything than me.
And a Rumble winner too.
And a Royal Rumble winner.
And defeated the Undertaker.
Not
retired.
He retired the Undertaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Roman Reigns. I absolutely think that the fans are trying to get behind a loser like Braun Strowman, because they just can't really believe how much of a winner Roman Reigns is.
Yeah.
So for me, it is I like the fact that Braun Strowman constantly loses to Roman Reigns.
Okay. I'll say I'm a Braun Strowman fan. Doesn't have the greatest track record recently. I will say people are genuinely interested in Braun Strowman for those that are. I know Arjun's a big Braun Strowman fan, not just because he likes Roman Reigns too, so it's not just an anti-Roman thing.
I mean, let's break it down. How good is Braun Strowman on the mic?
I think he's pretty good.
I think he's 2 thumbs up. He's one of the best.
He's one of the better guys they have.
Intimidation.
Honestly.
He's got the voice. He doesn't stammer over his words. He's short and sweet about it. He's deadly serious, and you hardly see the man crack a smile at all. He knows what he wants. His character is very clear on his objectives, and he continues to tear through them no matter what his win record is. Yeah. Look at him since he debuted. Is he in remarkably better shape than the day he walked in? Yes.
Infinitely, yeah.
Infinitely.
Yeah.
Is that going to go a long way to keeping him healthy? Yes. Look at him standing face to face with the Big Show. Is he not one of the tallest giants in the WWE today, if not the tallest?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Absolutely. Look at his strength. I mean, it's just off the charts. He is if you put him in a ring with Brock Lesnar, you tell me how Brock Lesnar even picks that guy up. He tosses him around at all. And this is why it's not going to happen between Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar. It will ruin the legacy of Brock Lesnar, because Braun Strowman's a better big man. He's a better monster. He's a better beast. And that will be proven way over time. And despite his insane stature and the way that he looks, he's so young. He's going to be with this company, if he stays healthy, for the rest of his life, and be the biggest destructive force that WWE's ever seen.
He's basically the next Big Show. Because Big Show's been here for like 20 years.
And without the smile, and he doesn't look like a thumb yet. So.
yeah, exactly. What do you think of Kurt Angle as Raw GM so far? Is he being made to look like a goofball too much?
Well,
I mean, it's
we
only
talked
been
about
a
that
month.
a little. So
Yeah. We kind of already talked about management. I think it's been good. You really way too early to tell, but I think it's been
he's
all
had a
right.
couple of good lines. He's had a couple of nostalgic moments.
Yeah.
He's sweated at least 14 gallons worth of sweat.
He's
so
getting used to the WWE production.
it's
life.
all about that Stephanie McMahon Triple H angle that's going to lead to WrestleMania,
Yeah,
folks. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it's going to lead to. What do you think about AJ Styles' comment about how SmackDown makes them and Raw takes them? He said that on Talking Smack about a week ago. Tell me your thoughts.
And this was from AJ Styles?
Yes.
On Talking Smack?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. When has that not been true since SmackDown kind of started? I mean, SmackDown...
Not even recently. We're going back 10 years.
Since the
15 years,
inception of SmackDown, it has always been the more focused show. It has always been the more impressive visual show. It's brighter. The tone is faster. It's just a quicker paced show, and they put their performers through even more challenges and dog them and prevent them from getting opportunities that the people on the Raw roster gets. So the second that they get to Raw, they're so hungry to get to the top and take down anybody that they usually do.
Yeah.
And the number of people that have made their first appearances and debuted on SmackDown, just the legacy of that show. I mean, I absolutely agree with AJ Styles that they are working them harder on SmackDown than it appears on Raw, because on Raw, most of the show is a lot of talk.
Yeah.
A lot of people coming out and posturing about how great it is to be on top, where on SmackDown, especially with this whole moniker now of the land of opportunity and things like that from Shane McMahon, it just seems like the opportunity to continue to go out there and pitch yourself to management and get involved in matches is taking people to the next level, and that's exactly what has happened with AJ Styles when he was on SmackDown Live, and it was just incredible.
Yeah, it's the house that he built.
Yeah,
he's not lying when he says that. At E13A from Twitter here, final few questions. Did you know Ahmed Johnson was supposed to challenge for the WWE Championship instead of Vader at the Canadian Stampede show? I just reviewed that show the other day. That's why they're asking that. I did not know that. You knew that?
I absolutely knew that, and I knew that Ahmed rubbed so many people the wrong way because he had the look, and that was about it. He was
terrible.
Very reminiscent of Tony Atlas, where it was just an impressive physique and a good enough character and everything that Vince likes on paper out of somebody. But I think that everybody must have gone to Vince and said, no, not this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
And and thankfully it didn't happen that way, because it would have been an exposing moment for the WWE at a time during their rivalry with WCW that they could ill afford to have someone like Ahmed Johnson be their champion, because he just did not have any microphone skills whatsoever.
None.
And I don't care who you could put Bobby the Brain Heenan next to him as his manager, and he would not get over.
Yeah, he was terrible. What are the 3 best 10-man tag team matches you have ever seen? I honestly could not name one. I know they're asking this because the Canadian Stampede, the main event of that show, was phenomenal. I'm just going to say that one. Do you know of any other 10-man tag team matches?
10-man tag matches?
Yeah, we don't see them often, and I couldn't tell you of another one.
Oh, man.
Any Survivor Series match, I guess, because that's 10-man tag to an extent, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of fun multi-man tag team showdowns and things like that. I can't think of a one that's specifically
I can't think of one,
10.
yeah.
That's
the Canadian Stampede one's the only one I can think of, which was amazing in Canada. But other than that, any ones that come to mind?
I'd have to look it up, to be honest.
And finally, on the Canadian Stampede, no. How would you compare In Your House Canadian Stampede to NXT TakeOver specials? Again, I've said it before, that Canadian Stampede show was one of, if not the best pay-per-view this company's ever done.
What year?
97.
Yeah, okay.
July 97.
Yep, I know the one.
In Your House specifically, overall, was not great, honestly. I mean, you lived through it, you can tell me, but compared to the NXT TakeOver specials, not even close.
Well, I think the concept for In Your House was there.
Yeah.
It really, the way that they branded it, the way that they kind of brought these different sets to come to life based on what name they chose. Like, it was in WWE In Your House : whatever, and instead of what they do now, where you have this predictable kind of lineup, or not predictable, Great Balls of Fire kind of lineup, at least it all kind of fell under the same moniker, so that you could pretty much expect and know what you were getting out of these shows, and you knew how far they were going to go. And usually at the In Your House stuff, that didn't really change a lot of titles, and they had some really incredible matches over the years.
They did have some great
of my
matches.
absolute favorite matches. But every single match on every single takeover has been one of my favorite matches.
Yeah, that's
and you
exactly
just
it.
cannot compare. It's like if you took all of the magic or of the best of the best ideas from In Your House and combined it with the best of the best ideas from ECW shows, that is an NXT takeover.
Yeah, one show. Yeah, exactly.
All in one. So it's the best of the best. I mean, it's the WWE, so they're obviously familiar with their own network catalog of things. But yeah, I mean, you get this very cathedral sense when you are watching a takeover, and you got that same type of presentation when you were watching ECW, and Hardcore Haven, any of those, December to Remember, all those things that were taking place in these really impressive non-traditional buildings. NXT's doing that, and then you involve not only just straight up some of the best physical wrestling matches, but some of the most colorful side accompaniments to those shows, and that's what In Your House did very well with some I'll never forget watching In Your House and watching the Austin 316 black glass breakdown and and some of those really big cool moments that from those floor stage sets that they had, which was really cool.
It was always cool as well. Have you heard they're making a Psych movie? No, I did not know that before you sent in this question. I absolutely love Psych. It was one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah, congratulations. It's for real.
Did you hear about that?
I think it's going to be a made-for-TV.
Yeah, it is for USA Network. I had not heard about that until this guy sent in the question. But yeah, I think it's like a holiday special or something, which is amazing. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Psych being the show that was advertised during wrestling.
They were always, yeah. I watched it even before I became a WWE fan. But when they were on Raw, my mind was blown.
Swear to God, I've caught the first 5 minutes of Psych more than any other show.
Yeah, right. They were always on after Raw.
Well, that and La Femme Nikita, I'll never forget that show.
What was that, after Raw or something?
Oh, that was back in the 90s. Yeah.
Oh, really?
La
I was going to say
Nikita.
that, and I've seen way too much of Todd Crisley than I would ever imagine to, than I would ever wish to.
Sweet Christmas.
At V4 Vulcaner, what are your comments and serious take in the following line by JBL on the Bring It to the Table special for Sami Zayn? I guess he had said, "I'd rather be captured by ISIS than have dinner with Sami Zayn," is what JBL said on Bring It to the Table. Tom, your thoughts?
None. Why address that?
Yeah.
I mean, what an obvious. I think the best thing that people can do is to not specifically point out any one thing that JBL's doing, and just look at what a terrible career he's had.
He's just a piece of shit,
and just what a garbage person he is. Let's just talk about his character instead. I don't care about what comedy said, because it's supposed to make you mad.
Yeah,
but deep down inside, he's just a conservative bad person.
Yeah,
he's
just not a good person.
Just not a good person. You know why? Because he's rich, and rich people are dicks.
Yeah,
it's in the name. It's in rich.
Exactly. Oh, that's a good point.
Rich is short for Richard, and dick is short for rich. So therefore, rich people are dicks. I learned that from Nirvana.
Brilliant. At Sean Margizik, his question was: do you see AJ Styles going back to the world title picture? After his feud with Kevin Owens is over? I mean, it's only inevitable. I mean, not immediately after. I would like to see Styles and Owens carry over for the next few months. I'm just about to write about this for tomorrow. But the feud has been so good, I would hate to see it cut short after Backlash. So after that has run its course and AJ does not win the U.S. title, we'll see. Then him and Orton is going to happen at some point. I think that'd be a match best saved for SummerSlam. But yeah, whether it's at SummerSlam or later on down the line, AJ will be back at the world title picture at some point. Tom, your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to believe that AJ made comments recently about wanting to take and elevate the U.S. title.
I did see that,
as much as the Intercontinental title is talked about or anything like that. AJ Styles would be phenomenal in the role of U.S. champion. I think that he could hold on to that or any belt as long as he likes. But it's interesting that his approach for the U.S. title is more about him earning it than when his approach for the world title, which was just about obtaining it. By any means, he wanted to go about it. So it's interesting how each belt attracts a different side of AJ Styles' personality. But I hope that if he does become U.S. champion and he discovers something deep down about what he enjoys about being a champion in the WWE, that when he goes after the world title, it's so clean and legit that there is no denying how phenomenal AJ Styles is to the history books of professional wrestling.
Could not agree more. A complete 180 really from his last title reign.
Yeah,
from
it shows an
ago.
arc of learned perspective. And if you watched Table for Three
with Sean and Kevin,
Sean and Kevin, I mean, he sits there just awestruck the whole time in front of these two guys that he's just trying to be like, oh, I'm talking to Shawn Michaels and Diesel right now. Holy cow! Just having the time of his life. So, obviously there's a long way for AJ Styles to go here, and he's not slowing down at all.
No.
He's the future for sure, 100%.
One of the best in the world right now. Which show has been better since the Superstar Shake of Raw or SmackDown? Both shows have been good. I mean, it's been really, some weeks SmackDown's better, some weeks Raw is better. It's not like a couple of months ago when SmackDown was literally consistently better week to week, in my opinion.
Raw has
better evenly matched now, I would say.
More evenly matched. I'll give it to SmackDown
same.
Because they have to work harder. They have less network pay-per-views. They have less of a build for a lot of stuff, and they have to really make their stories and their matches count. Whereas on Raw, they can just, someone can get injured, or they change a storyline, or they drop somebody from the show, or they do this or that, and they can just move on, and it's kind of hardly noticed. And you really have to watch all 3 hours to really get the full benefit of what's going on Raw. So they still are under those, so long as Raw is still under those same constraints, even when they have a good show, SmackDown will consistently outpace them with better shows. So
yeah, if I had to choose, definitely go SmackDown.
Raw's been great, but that's no reason to say that they're on top.
Yeah, I would agree. I did advertise ahead of time that Tommy would be on the show, so this question is directed towards you, Tommy. Hashtag, we had people sending usually it's hashtag AskGSM. For today, I had people sending questions with the hashtag AskTom.
Damn.
So your question is from @Scarlet1. When did you start watching wrestling, and what was the first thing that really interested you?
Oh man, I remember watching, flipping through channels as a kid, and I saw George the Animal Steel biting and tearing apart a turnbuckle with his teeth, while Hulk Hogan just looked terrified in the ring.
Yeah.
And Steel turned around, and Hogan pointed at him, and the animal lost it, and he got all scared and starts running around in small circles. Hogan hits him, throws him off the ropes, kicks him, leg drop, and wins. And I think from that moment on, I was like, this was the greatest thing I've ever seen. I really was never a Hulk Hogan or a huge fan of all the babyface talent.
Yeah.
But I loved these unbelievably imaginative,
over the top characters,
crazy
and
monsters and creatures and macho men and things like that. And it was WWF that got me into it, but WCW and the AWA and any of the syndicated stuff that would just pop up on random cable channels, that was the stuff that made the biggest impression on me. And I've just from that one moment of the first moment that I was introduced to. My dad knew what was going on. My dad knew who all these characters were. I don't think he watched very regularly, but it was well known, at the time. WrestleMania was definitely where the first WrestleMania happened only a year prior to when I was born. So WWF was still a huge, pop culture kind of thing that was booming right now, and you saw these characters, and it was a lot of fun. And I'll never forget that image of George the Animal Steel just ripping apart that turnbuckle and being like, "Wow, this is not fighting."
Yeah.
Because it wasn't. It was action and entertainment and theater and then fighting. And for a kid growing up in the late 80s, that was everything you wanted to see. So it's still with me to this day.
And everything wraps up into one. We'll end on this note here. Final question. I guess a fitting person to end with a question with here. We got @RG_Marceau. Mr. Marceau, RG sending a question. His question was, if you had to push someone that is on the same level as Jinder Mahal, who would it be and why? So I guess he's basically asking if you had to push someone that would be on Jinder's level, was a jobber before they became a WWE title challenger, who would it be? Well, you go first, then I'll go.
Kurt Hawkins.
Ooh, okay.
Kurt Hawkins' meteoric rise to Intercontinental Champion.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Like, meteoric, like, he does it, like, he just keeps winning. It surprises him. He keeps hot streak.
Yeah.
Kurt Hawkins all the way to the top, wins it, gets so confident. It's like, I'll face anybody, anybody comes out, beats him right then and there.
Yeah. Right there.
Holds it for, like, less than, like, an hour.
They could have done that because his first match on SmackDown was for the belt with Ziggler, like, months ago. But then he just didn't really show up.
No, I think it would be an incredible turn to see a person that is obnoxious, much like Jinder. Like, lots of different roles, lots of different incarnations, pretty obnoxious, you know, trying to be a heel and even get even further under your skin. What's Kurt Hawkins doing right now? Kind of trying to get under your skin. You know, Kurt Hawkins doesn't have a posse, but he usually carries around some kind of scepter. So, you know, like... You know, kind of the overtones of, like, being a terrible Triple H would be an incredible run for Kurt Hawkins.
Yeah. I think that would work perfectly, yeah.
What are your thoughts?
No, you know what? I'm going to steal Kurt Hawkins, too. I was going to say, I guess it's not really an answer now that I think about it. I was going to say Luke Harper, but he wasn't really on Jinder's level. He's kind of a step above.
I would say he's above Jinder because, like, Jinder's someone that we would never want to be in a championship like run for things. And the same with Kurt Hawkins. I would never want him to be in a championship run position unless it was to build him up to be nothing. Which is really cool. Unfortunate for Kurt Hawkins, but cool for me, the viewer.
Exactly. I mean, at least he's back in the company. I mean, he got cut a couple of years ago. Now he's at least back with WWE, and you know, just a little mini title reign would be.
Or
cool.
Bo Dallas, but again,
Bo would be
a
cool
deserving person that works really hard and is really cool in his own way. You know, like he's got to ditch the believe in Bo and.
Why is he still doing that?
Don't know,
the election was 6 months ago.
It's
a damn sign he's still carrying around.
Yes, but Kurt Hawkins would be obnoxious. Is there anyone else?
Trying to think who's like on Superstar.
I mean,
main event, whatever.
A lot of people. Well, those don't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Superstars isn't. Yeah, those shows don't exist anymore.
Well, like
Mojo was in that. But he won the Battle Royal, so is he really at that level anymore? But I would go Mojo.
Mojo, that's another solid one.
I'd say Mojo. He'd be a
RJ.
good pick. So on that, I know. We wish we had Mr. Marstow here. Actually, today was the 1-year anniversary of his final show in this very room. So it's become
Thank you, RJ. Thank you, RJ.
So he actually bid farewell to the show about a year ago, and then I sent him off to Leave the Memories Alone by whatever the song that Ric Flair had in his retirement song when he retired, or for the first time anyway, in WWE. Years ago, and he has been officially banned from the show, meaning he can never come back.
Never come back. No, he admitted on air to really enjoying Limp Bizkit. I had an off-air conversation with Graham, and I said, "I'm sorry, RJ's not allowed.
You can't like my way. You can't like my way.
It's my way or the highway."
This room is going to become Tommy's after I'm gone in the week and a half. So you're going to officially own the radio room. I'll be banning myself from the room.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm going to be taking over the airwaves. I'm gonna
NWO style, too sweet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna hack into all of the WrestleRant servers, I'm gonna NWO this thing. It's gonna be my way. Going forward, so I'm looking forward to that over the summer.
I can't wait. So if people want to send in a question, again, tweet me in the Twitter machine at WrestleRant, #AskGSM, Facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights or the wall itself. And again, leave a comment on this very video right here on YouTube. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So before we ride off into the sunset, any plugs, any last requests, comments, Tommy?
Check out the show tomorrow and every week, WrestleRant Radio on nextEraWrestling.net. Full WWE front-to-end coverage. Everything that we are seeing, we are talking about every single match. All of the major conflicts happening right now in the WWE. If you want to get caught up, if you're not watching wrestling, but you're talking about it as if you don't like wrestling, listen to our show and become that much more informed over your BS opinion.
Sounds great. Less than 24 hours, to go until WrestleRant Radio, so check it out. So for Tommy Sharp, for Diamond Dallas Page, the ghost of Macho Man, I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and we'll catch you guys down the road.
Feel the bang.